everyone, once again, and welcome to another episode of Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host, Caleb Gillock. Today we're going to talk about women's basketball, men's basketball, and the Champions of Character Award that the athletic department received. But first today, let's talk about women's basketball, and joining us to do so, Tia King. Tia, thanks for joining me.
No problem.
Well, tell us a little bit about how the season's going for the team in their inaugural season.
I think we're doing pretty well for it to be our first season. We have a lot of things to learn, but each game we go on, we learn new things, and we get better from it. So it's all a learning experience right now, and if you're not making mistakes, you're not getting better. So we just take it in as that.
Now, you say the team has some things that they need to learn. What are some of those things?
Not getting down after. Every team has their runs, so we just have to remember we'll have our run as well, and just to have a short memory on the court. If we make a mistake, just forget about it. We get too down on ourselves sometimes, but with each other, picking each other up, it's not a problem.
Now, you yourself have had quite the spectacular season so far. Tell us about your own individual season this year.
I think I'm doing pretty good. I'm just really trying to focus on getting the wins, and if it's me scoring the points to get them, that's all it is.
All right, well, you mentioned some of the wins. Let's talk about some of those wins. The first one that comes to mind, the University of Cincinnati Clearmont game, was a win on the road, 101-52. Tell us about that game.
Before that game, we had lost to Rio, and it was a conference game, and we really wanted to beat Rio, but we couldn't. So we just took that anger on UC Clearmont, and we made a goal for ourselves to only let them score a certain amount of points, and just to keep that goal in mind, and then that's how we got the win.
In the Clearmont game, you won by 49 points, and the goal in the second half, from what I heard, was strictly to work on defense. How did that work out?
It worked out pretty well, although we didn't let them score 60, but they ended up getting 62. So he was kind of frustrated about it, but we knew our defensive stops was what held them that low with that. But we knew we had to do better the next time to hold them to a certain amount.
All right, well, the next game was at IU Kokomo, where you picked up the win 92-83. Tell us about that game.
That game was intense. I don't know if it was because of the gym and the atmosphere, and it was just a first team. Both teams were both new. And so we didn't want to lose to them. It was like the battle of the new teams, pretty much. And so we were down at the half, and we was like, we need to win. We need to beat them. Like, all our family was there. It was a good crowd. So that's what we did. We just pulled away from it.
You say there was a good crowd at that game. What's it been like to have such a large crowd following the team in their inaugural season?
It's really nice. Like, sometimes when we go so far away, a lot of our family members can't come and support us. So whenever it's a close game near everybody's home, they always make sure they come out and support. So it's really good.
Well, the next game was a home game. It was a doubleheader with the men's team, and that was against kayak opponent Brescia. Won that game 112-93. Tell us about that game.
Brescia, we had set another goal, like defensive stops, and the first half we had held them to a good amount, and then we didn't hold it for as long as we wanted to, though. We didn't finish as strong as we wished, but a win is still a win, but we know we still have to keep that goal in mind and finish strong and not be discouraged on our mistakes, because, of course, it's a learning experience. So, again, we had to regroup ourselves and pull it together to get that win.
The next game was on the road at Midway. It was a unfortunate loss, 111-106. What happened there?
That was tough. Like Coach said, it was another track meet. We knew they were fast. They have all the ingredients that we have, and so we knew it would be a battle. But we just have to finish on defense and not get down. And even though they had a home crowd, we still had to pull ourselves together and just finish. We have to learn how to finish better and not let them score 111 points again.
Yeah. Now, most recently, back on Sunday, Alice Lloyd, that was a win, 113-90. Tell us about that home win in the conference.
Let's see. We just had to follow our scouting reports and make sure they didn't score, and we held them to a certain amount the first half again, and then we just had to make sure we finished in the second half, which we did, but we can't let them score 90 points either. But it's stuff we got to learn. We're learning on it now. We worked on it in practice today on getting stops, and after we get a stop, we have to score, and we have to make sure they don't score.
Right. Well, 3 of the last few games that we've talked about, you scored over 100 points as a team. What does scoring over 100 points mean to the program at this point of the season?
It's nice, I guess, but that's as long as we win, that's all that really matters. But we have to make sure if we score 100 points, our opponent can't get 90 either. Because, I mean, you have to have defense. And we do play defense. It just doesn't show it on the scoreboard. But we be playing defense.
All right, well, the next game tomorrow at Asbury, it's a kayak conference game as well. What do you expect the outcome of that game to be?
Tough, just because it's a conference game, and we're not going to take any conference game lightly. So we're just going to go in there with the goal in mind and have a defensive goal and defensive stops to get what we need in the outcome so we can win whatever it takes.
All right, well, thanks for joining me. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about men's basketball right here on Inside IUE Sports.
This is where a busy mom can work toward a bachelor's degree from a top national university during softball practice. It's where a service member can continue his college studies from anywhere in the world, and where you'll benefit from one of the country's most effectively delivered online programs.
Woohoo!
So, if you've ever wondered if a college education is really worth it, this is where you'll see that it is. This is Indiana University East Online.
And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. It's time to talk about men's basketball. And joining me to talk about men's basketball is Nick Bollenbacher, number 11. Nick, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about how the season's going for the men's program.
You know, the beginning of the year started off with a bang. You know, we came out hot, wanted to make a statement. I believe we did that. We cracked the top 20, took a couple losses, probably where we shouldn't have, set us back a little bit. And, you know, recently we've had some close games, a lot of close games, I'll say that.
Right.
But, you know, we pulled out a lot of them, which, you know, we're very thankful for. So right now we're in the driver's seat to take care of the rest of our season. So.
Right. I know, but at one point in the season you're up to, I believe, 18th in the national rankings. And then, of course, you mentioned a couple losses brought you back down to around 38, but you're working your way back up. What's that process been like since then?
Well, it's different. Only 2 guys on this team have been to nationals, so they're the only ones who actually know about the pressure. And a lot of us are, you know, finally figuring out what that's like. And we love it. We wake up every morning waiting for, you know, the new challenge. The next opponent, you know, that's what we strive for. So it's a great thing to learn and be able to go through.
Right. Well, you mentioned some of those tough games a little bit ago, and we'll talk about 4 of those. Let's start with, they're all conference games, really. Let's start with Carlos, a win 72-57. Tell us about that game.
Yes, tough game. It was, you know, different environment, just one where we had to go in there and, you know, we came out hot. We struggled in the second half, but we came out with the win. Just, you know, shows our strengths and, you know, how deep we are as a team and how we can handle a lot of stuff that's being thrown at us.
The next game at IU Kokomo, a win 84-82, kind of a last-minute thing there as well. Tell us about that game.
Yes, also crazy, you know, being in a great being in a great conference like the KIAC, we're always going to get the best out of everybody. So it was a great game to be a part of. Great environment, great play by both teams. Again, you know, we came out pretty hot. Second half came around, and you know, it turned into a fight. So luckily, we pulled that one out by 2 points, I believe. So again, you know, we're very thankful to come out with the W there.
Tell us about the final minutes of that game. Of course, it was a 2-point game, 84-82 with the win.
You know, it was all about making plays. And that's something Coach Hester, Coach Rigby, and Coach Sanders really talk about, are making plays when we have to. And, you know, in the final couple minutes there, we really settled down on defense. We made stops when we needed to. And, you know, some guys hit some big shots when we needed them. And, you know, as a team, you know, that's what we can do. So.
The next game was a home game against Brescia. Of course, it was an unfortunate loss, 66-60. Tell us about that conference game.
Very tough loss. Probably set us back, not too much, but especially in conference standings, it, you know, took a hit. And something that, you know, we really kind of keep in the back of our head, just because something like that could really set us back from our goals this year, is getting back to the national tournament. So we really want to make sure that never happens again. We work hard, all 40 minutes, so something that we, keep in the back of our head.
What seemed to be the problem in that game? Was it defense or shooting, or what was it?
Probably just focus. We've been talking a lot about focus lately, just, focus for 40 minutes, not focus for 20 minutes. And that's probably one thing we really lacked. We just, we're not focusing on, the next play. We were focused on what happened before.
All right. Well, of course, the most recent game back on Sunday against Dallas Lloyd, a 77-76 win with Houston Clark hitting a shot there with 1 second left. Tell us about that game.
Again, another battle, and like I said, being in this great conference, we're going to get everyone's best shot. Luckily, we made plays when we needed to. Houston made a great shot at the end, just playing all the way through the play, not watching the rebound or anything like that. He attacked the play. Again, very, very thankful we pulled that one out. Great win, I guess.
Yeah. Well, 3 of the games that we've talked about today were decided by less than 7 points. What does it mean to be able to compete in close games like that and take the win?
I believe it shows character. It's something that, especially last year, we struggled with those tight games. But this year, I believe that last year helped us get better for this year and be able to close out these games, be able to relax, and be able to get a stop when we need one, score when we need one, and have faith in each other, because having 14 great guys on a team, any 5 that are out there can get the job done.
Now, of course, the team seems to be playing better in this part of the season in the second half. What is Coach Hester's thoughts on being able to come out and play better in the second half?
Well, it's all about focus, and it's all about focusing on the next play. We can't get lost about what happened in the first half and about the previous play, because that's only gonna hurt us going forward. And we don't want to think about the beginning of the season. We don't want to worry about the first half. We want to come out stronger in the second half, make a statement, and get the win.
All right. Well, the big question is, do you think that the team has potential at the national level?
Yes. Like I said, we have 14 great guys. We have probably the best bench in the country. Our starting 5 is probably stronger than any starting 5. It's all about just connecting the 2 halves, working hard for all 40 minutes. I believe that, and ratings will show, rankings, everything will show that when we really put our mind to it, we're better than anyone in the country. So it's all about settling down, working together, and believing in one another.
All right. Well, the next big game is going to be tomorrow at Asbury at 4 p.m. What do you expect the outcome of that game to be?
Oh, a win, of course. But it's going to be tough. They're having a great year too. But traveling to Asbury, it's going to be a rough game, just because a road game in conference is always tough. So we're definitely looking for a win on the road.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Nick, and good luck on the rest of the season. We'll be right back with more Inside IUE Sports.
I'm Dr. Ganesh Ramachandran, the region's only hand specialist at Reed Orthopedic Center. Patients love how easy it is having everything under one roof and how easy it is to get here. Right here at Reed Orthopedic Center, right here in Richmond.
And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. It's time for Wolf Smack. Wolf Smack is where I'll ask each of our guests a question. They have a chance to answer it. I'll choose a winner, and the winner gets 30 seconds of face time to promote whatever they would like. Joining us for Wolf Smack today is Nick Bollenbacher and Tia King. The question today is, the NAIA's 5 core values are servant leadership, respect, responsibility, integrity, and sportsmanship. Which value does your team best exemplify, and why? Tia, we'll start with you.
Can you say them again?
5 core values are servant leadership, respect, responsibility, integrity, and sportsmanship.
I think my team has the most sportsmanship, regardless of wherever we are on the court. The crowd can be a little crazy and hectic, and so can other players, but we still keep our heads together, and even if our opponent falls down, we'll pick them up. We'll just cheer each other on. We're never negative to the refs, and we'll just let the coach do the talking.
All right, how about you, Nick?
It's a tough answer to follow, but I'd probably go with the respectable part. Our boys basketball team really try to strive for being respectable on the court. Going against the other team, it can get pretty hectic out there. Like Tia said, the crowd, saying whatever they're saying, whatever's going on, but trying to have a good attitude and being respectable is, one of our top priorities. So.
Right. Well, you both had very similar answers. Of course, yours was respect, yours was sportsmanship. But I have seen the sportsmanship several times on the floor through the women's program. So, Tia, you've got 30 seconds of face time to promote whatever you'd like.
Make sure y'all come to our next game, February 6th. It's a home game against IU Kokomo, and I know they're going to want to beat us because we beat them, but we're not going to let that happen. So make sure y'all come and make it packed.
All right. Thank you guys for joining me. We'll be right back with more Inside IUE Sports. And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. The IU East Athletic Department recently received another great award, and that's the NAIA Champions of Character Award. And joining me to talk about that award is Kyle Wright, the Assistant Athletic Director and the Sports Information Director here at IU East. Kyle, thanks for joining me. What exactly is the Champions of Character Award?
Well, the Champions of Character, it's a really big initiative on the part of the NAIA, which is what we're a part of. It's one thing that the NAIA really tries to use to maybe distinguish itself from the NCAA. Not that the NCAA doesn't have character, that's not what we're trying to say, but it's really a big push on the NAIA end. If you look up the NAIA logo, it actually has the Champions of Character statement in there, as well as the 5 core values that are part of Champions of Character, whereas other organizations don't necessarily do that. So the NAIA is different in the sense that they're really out in front making a Champions of Character something that's supposed to be kind of on the front of your mind every day, every contest, every game. And then as part of that, they have what's called a NAIA Champions of Character scorecard. It's kind of like an academic letter grade. A perfect score would be 100. A less than perfect score would be a 0. Any school that gets 60 or better is considered a Champions of Character institution. IU East has actually earned this distinction every year that it's been part of the NAIA, so now we're 7 for 7 as far as earning this award. And actually, this is the first year that the NAIA has broken into 3 tiers. There's a gold level, a silver level, and a bronze level. And it's not easy to get gold. Gold, you pretty much have to have all your athletes getting 4.0 GPAs and doing a community service event every day. So we were silver, and that's nothing to sneeze at. The fact that we weren't gold, we'll continue to strive for it, but pretty much that means that you've achieved pretty much perfection. Right. So right now we're at excellence, which we're still quite proud of. I'll give you an example of some of the things that they evaluate us for. You have to have a web page devoted to Champions of Character, which we do. They ask you to have a banner displayed in your facility. Okay, we don't have our own facility yet, but what we do, we have a big screen TV in the athletics office, and we make sure that the Champions of Character logo is displayed on there. They ask, one thing that they've really changed in the last few years. When I first came to IU East, which was 5 years ago, the only thing that they really evaluated Champions Character on was how much community service you did, which was a great thing. But in the last few years, they've added a component where they want your athletes to really get out and train people in the community, whether it's students or adults, about the 5 core values, which is responsibility, respect, integrity, servant leadership, and sportsmanship. So an example you might give, our team might go to, say, a Boys and Girls Club and play dodgeball with the kids there, which that's a great thing. But what they're really looking for us to do is maybe talk a little bit about sportsmanship while we're there, really try to impart those 5 core values. So that's something that you get points for. You get points for training your coaches in those things. You get points for training your athletes in those things. You still do get points for community service. In our case, we'll never dial back, but we've gotten to the point where we actually have to we get too many points for community service. There's actually a cap on how many points you can get toward this scorecard, and we've exceeded the maximum for each of the last several years. So you could almost say the NAI says we do too much community service, but of course we'll never dial back on that. There's some things for making sure you recognize your athletes for doing these things. One thing we did last year that we'd never really been able to do before, there's a section for do you nominate another school for doing a good deed. And for the first time last year, we had a case where it was our first home basketball game, and we had a few equipment glitches. The shot clock wasn't working, which that's actually a technical foul if that's the case. And Greece College, which was our opponent that day, they refused to shoot the free throws. They stepped to the line. The gentleman shot an air ball on purpose, basically. It was evident what they were trying to do. So they were a very sporting gesture not to hold that against us. So those are some of the things that they evaluate the Champions of Character Award on.
All right, and who really can get the Champion of Character award?
Well, any school can. There's been some years where basically every school in our conference has. They do a Champions of Character conference as well. Some of our there's also a team award which they give to one team in each sport every year. It's essentially a national championship for Champions of Character. And for last school year, which is what all this was based on, our men's track and field team was honored to be the recipient of the Team Champions of Character award for that. So the NAIA does a great job of not only encouraging athletes and coaches to make a difference in the community in this way, and then also recognizing the coaches and athletes to do that as well.
Now, what are some of the things that the teams do in order to be able to receive this?
Well, I had to make a list, if you'll forgive me for flipping over, because there's no way I could remember this all on my own. Well, we'll start with cross country and track and field, since those are the ones that receive the national award. They have a thing called the Milt down here in Richmond. If you live here, you know what it is, but basically it's a giant ice sculpture festival. If you're wondering how all those ice sculptures got in place, that's because our track and field and cross country athletes pushed them there. So worked in a little training, not only that, but doing a good deed. They're very active with the Special Olympics in the spring. At the start of the year in August, they helped distribute shoes after the Reed Ride, which is a charity bicycle ride here in the community. Coach Crowley actually took a turn in a dunk tank for charity at one point, so he got soaked for a good cause. And maybe my favorite picture, they shoveled snow. If you remember last winter, how much snow we had, it finally got to where the weather was warm enough to run outside, but the track at Richmond High School is still covered with snow. They went out and shoveled the whole thing. They cleared off all the snow from all 400 meters of the Richmond High School track. So those are some of the things that they did. The golf team, they took part in St. Jude Telethon. They answered phones for that and also did a little clinic for that. Women's volleyball, they did some help with the animals, also did some work at some community carnivals. Actually, they did one, found out another that night, so they went to the second one, did cleanup, so they went above and beyond. Men's basketball and women's basketball did tons of things as well. So just our athletes were very active in the community during the 2013-14 school year.
All right, well, thank you, Kyle, and hopefully we can get many more of those awards here at the
Say already, I didn't even talk about any things that our athletes have done this year, and there's plenty. So we look forward to hopefully being back here at about this time next year to talk about receiving this distinction again.
All right, well, thanks for joining me, Kyle. We'll be right back with more Inside IUE Sports.
Dylan Newman had a terrible dislocated shoulder after a bad dirt bike accident. The long-term solution, surgery and intense rehab.
I trusted Reed Orthopedics because they had already fixed my ankle. And within 4 months of my surgery, Dr. Miller and my Reed therapist, April, helped me to regain my motion and most of my strength. Thanks to Reed Ortho, I can get back to what I love. It's all about trust. Right, Dr. Miller?
Right here at Reed.
Right here in Richmond.
And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. That sound you just heard means that it is time for Wolf Center. Wolf Center is where we take a look back at last week's IU East results and ahead to next week's schedule. You can download the Wolf House sound you just heard for free by downloading the free IU East Athletics app at the iTunes App Store or the Google Play Store. Now taking a look back at last week's results, on January 13th, the men's basketball team defeated Carlo 72-57. Jacoby Claypool had 13 points and 4 assists for the Red Wolves. Then on January 17th, the women's basketball team won a kayak matchup against IU Kokomo 92-83. Kristen Miller had 8 points and the go-ahead three-pointer for IU East. Also on January 17th, the men's basketball team won a nail-biter at IU Kokomo 84-82. Tyler Fangman had 19 points and set the IU East record for career points. On January 20th, the women's basketball team defeated Brussia 112-93. Kerrigan Niehoff had 20 points, 17 rebounds, and 4 assists. Also on the 20th, the men's basketball team fell to Brescia 66-60 at home. Parker Salinas scored 15 and had 6 rebounds off of the bench. On January 22nd, the women's basketball team lost to Midway 111-106. Tia King had 34 points and 6 rebounds. On January 25th, the women's basketball team beat Alice Lloyd 113-90. Mackenzie Campbell led scoring with 31. Also on the 25th, the men's basketball team won against Alice Lloyd 77-76. Tyler Fangman led the way in scoring with 19 points, and Houston Clark scored the game-winning basket. Now taking a look ahead at the schedule, on January 31st, the women's basketball team will be in action at Asbury at 2 p.m. Then also on the 31st, the men's basketball team also in action at Asbury. That game will start at 4 p.m. Asbury right now a top 25 team, and both games can be watched online at IUERedWolves.com. Then on February 3rd, the women's basketball team will be in action at Cincinnati Christian University at 5 p.m. And then also on the 3rd, the men's basketball team on the road as well at Cincinnati Christian. Cincinnati Christian won the kayak tournament last year. Both games can be watched live at IUERedWolves.com. Then on February 5th, the women's basketball team will be at home against IU Kokomo at 6 p.m. IU East beat Kokomo 92-83 on January 17th. Then also on February 5th, the men's basketball team back at home once again against IU Kokomo. That game starts at 8 p.m. IU East won the last matchup 84-82 on January 17th. Both games can be caught live at IUERedWolves.com. That concludes this episode of Inside IUE Sports. I'm your host, Caleb Gillock. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.